Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day. So, I was talking to a friend about transliteration and what the word transliter means, and I've talked to different people about this before about when they talk about being brought to the Mount or Jerusalem because things are being transliterated. To me, when you transliterate something, you switch up the letters. It's almost like a anagram almost when you switch up the letters and or see puzzles or repeating repeating data. And so I kind of have this thing where I'm really good at figuring out puzzles and playing with words. That's why I'm really good with writing stories, a branch of my intellect, if you will. And so I just wanted to go through a few things in history with you guys and show you some of the things that I found while researching. And so the Ten Commandments to me is the tree of life, guidance plus the name. When when people hear me giving, they call it the Ten Commandments, which is the first three commandments is the spirit that hovers, the ark of the covenant, which hovers over the waters, and the lamb that walks above the waters. It's basically freedom. Well, then there's the seven colors in the rainbow, the seven stars in its hands, and the 7 days in creation. It's the other seven angels or the other seven commandments. And so, what it does is it's not commandments. It frees you from life. That's why I call it the life covenant. You basically it plagues Pharaoh. No gods, no idols. Don't bow to them, and don't take who I am in vain. Basically. So I found these different men in history. Moses, who is Amos, a Pharaoh, I am man, or Gabriel. Elijah, Zoroaster with the fire temples and stuff, who is like I am, or Michael. Yanes, or John, or Giannis, is I am Heels, Raphael. And Juan Jr., Wani, the light fire of who I am, Uriel. Adam, the language of Ge'ez, an ancient Ethiopian language, I call it the father language, came around 4000 BC. It's about 6,000 years old, per 2000 AD. Noah, or Pharaoh, I look at him like me, Narmer, came the farmer. He was the first Pharaoh, and he instituted the 42 laws of Ma'at. Well, the thing is, if there's a covenant or the Ten Commandments since the beginning, what happens is somebody else comes in and then they introduce a goddess. Now, if you pay attention to this, Noah's father is Methuselah or Medusa, the queen of the Leviathan for hair, and his grandfather a double murderer. Okay, Greece, these are Greek gods. Lamesh is Gilgamesh, and then Lamesh is actually something in Greece, and so is Methuselah. Um, so came Mean Narmer, the first pharaoh, brought the 42 laws of Matt, but then he would have people worshiping this god, justice and punishment, and introduce gods and idols, and then eventually pharaohs would become gods. And so it should be the 44 laws of Maat because it's missing the first two commands. Like I said, no gods, idols, and don't bow. But it has don't take sin in vain, which is basically don't take who I am in vain. And you'll see that later in history with Aaron also. So that's why I call Noah the dragon who spit the waters out. And so he built a whole new ark, the 42 laws of Ma, outside the Ten Commandments in 3000 BC. So this is what I look at as the second day. And if you look at Noah and all that, those are Babylonian stories outside of Egypt. Um, so then you have the Pharisee and Noah. If you look at that together, that turns into I seen Pharaoh. Um, so Cain, or Mean Narmer, or whoever, Noah, burned up the seven clean animals, right? That's the seven commandments. Created seven Noahides that have introduced blasphemy, which got a lot of prophets killed and a lot of people killed in the future. Fear and dread. He cursed his son, or Africa, which lived out till to this day, and killing for the law, leading to the prophet's death. He tore the covenant apart, and people to this day still gets into the Noahides after the Greeks rewrote the Bible, and then the Romans, and then the English. These are all Egyptian stories, I'm telling you, for the most part. Egypt becomes massively corrupt after 3000 BC and stuff comes down. Well, then you have Mentuhotep, him 10, right? 10 again. I believe this is Ham, or him, or Abel, the second son of the word. He brought back peace and unified the two Egyptian kingdoms, allowed the enemies to live and let others prosper. He didn't kill the enemy governors and stuff like that. was covered by Christianity and Islam over and over and over, Greece and the Middle East, or Shem and Japheth, because of their father Noah, or Cain. In 2000 BC, this man came, Mentuhotep II. Google what percent of Africa is Christian and Islam, and then go to images. It's 50-50. They truly keep covering the name. The Jews, right, who sent people to Noah's hides, right, it's literally living out. And they teach to enslave and kill and all this other stuff. Well, then you go to Islam and Christianity. What do? The Lord God Jesus, Allah Muhammad. They're covering it. Then you go down further, you have Melchizedek, right? Melech Zedek, the Jews of Melech. Hyksos, Sumerians, Babylonians, and Canaanite lords and gods. They invade Egypt around 1800 BC. Now, if you look at Jacob, right? Jacob, he then became Isis, Ra, and El, two Egyptians and a Sumerian god. You see how they mix together at first as Egypt, and then it's Sumerian Egypt, and now there's gods involved, a trinity. So then the Hyksos came and invaded after Ham, so to speak, fixed Egypt up. Well, then you have a literal man named Moshe, around 1500 BC to draw from the rivers to free from Pharaoh, an algorithm to stop religious slavery from the world, who brought back the Ten Commandments. Another man took his teachings and sent many into the wilderness. I am assuming the Hyksos or Semitic peoples that came and took over Egypt after it was unified, and then about 400 years later, Moshe shows up at the same time in history. Okay, Allah and Christianity, Europe and the Middle East. Another man took his teachings and sent many into the wilderness. I'm assuming the Hyksos or Semitic peoples. Aaron wrote 613 mitzvahs plus the ark. The first 3 commandments is I am, which is 616. That ends up being the mark of the beast, which was pulled out of the waters by Aaron, somebody who went to Egypt to start messing with their stuff and added to it. So then he created the mark of man for murder, which led to more prophets' deaths and more innocent people deaths. Because if the covenant since the beginning is thou shalt not kill, where's your brother Cain? Then look what's happening over and over. These different men are writing law outside the covenant and killing for it. So I call Cain or Noah the dragon. I call him Ham or Abel, right? Mentuhotep II. And then I call Moses Seth, because if you actually pay attention, Seth is an Egyptian word. I did not know that. Somebody named Seth in Egypt, it's crazy. Osiris Seth or something like that. So I look at Moses like Seth, and then they started calling on the name. So then later on, look at this Joshua story. Google when Joshua came, 1300 BC. Then you have Akhenaten, right? In 1300, went on an exhibition to carry out Moses' legacy to bring back Aten. Around the time Moses died, or Amos, the 10 Commandments, Aten, and brought back monotheism or Atenism. Sounds like atheism, which puts no gods before who I am. Atheism, transliterated, is the I ams. It's crazy, right? Then later down the line, you have people like Samuel and different people. I don't know exactly who this is in history, but I'm guessing it's Semitic peoples once again. They introduced kings and more murder. Samuel taught people to murder entire villages and tribes and to once again worship a man over the name, which is us. I am. Because of what the people told him to do. So then you go further. Later down the line, you end up with David and Solomon, the instructions of a Menimope. I read this stuff, and it sounds like calming, loving instructions from a father to a son versus Solomon's, I had slaves, I did what I wanted, thou shalt follow the Lord, do. And Solomon, it sounds like commands, and then it sounds like a depressed man who can't figure life out. But this one from Egypt sounds amazing. And then you have later down the line around 600 BC when Zoroastrianism and all this appears, way before Judaism. This is in written history. Google will tell you this. Before Catholicism, Islam, Judaism, there was Zoroaster. I call him Elijah. The Phoenicians and Zoroastrians, beautiful people who had fire temples and did all type of fire stuff. But they became flaming violent. If you pay attention to John the Baptist, he said, Elia, Elia, why have you forsaken me? Just like Moses tried to forsake him when they tried to stone that woman. It's because so Elijah was caught up in a firestorm, right? Which means he's exempt from this, just like Enoch. So if you pay attention, and then Moses was removed from the promised land, so he's exempt from this. It's Aaron's fault. So then if you pay attention to this, Aaron and the people that turned Zoroaster into the Prince of Persia and became violent, then killed John the Baptist when he came to try to profess, so to speak. So I thought that was interesting. Paul was a Pharisee. He was protesting against Jews. Jews is an English word. They were the circumcision of the heart, the Ten Commandments. They were people who followed the covenant. And so, which means they wouldn't bow to Roman Caesars and Greek Caesars and Jewish Pharisees. Pharisee, as I told you, is an extension of Pharaoh. He persecuted the Jews, right? The covenant. So he persecuted people that wouldn't bow to Titus and Barnabas, the Greek gods, because Paul brought Titus and Barnabas to Jerusalem through revelation and didn't circumcise nobody. The law is dead and the dead letter and blah, 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 and do what you want. Just follow in your heart Jesus Christ. Because John the Baptist didn't say nothing about no Jesus Christ. There was no J, and he was killed. So the people that spread his story, Peter and Paul, created Catholicism and Protestantism, the two horns on the next beast that came forth and taught to forsake Moses once again, not the law of Aaron, but the Ten Commandments, to then follow their law. I am confounded and I don't know what's going on, and I'm going to go preach to all these Gentiles, even though I was told not to preach to the Gentile. Gentile means not circumcised of the heart, not Romans and Greeks and all this other stuff. They're creating racism out of it. He persecuted the people who wouldn't bow. Then he being a Pharisee, pagan, had a revelation, and then brought Titus and Barnabas into Jerusalem uncircumcised, leading to Protestantism. The Greek God of the Bible is Theos. Martin Luther resurrected theology from Protestantism. The Greeks got all their information from Egypt, Plato and Socrates and all these other men that y'all keep talking about, the Library of Alexandria, and then became the leopard with the four heads, split age four ways, which led to the Germans creating Jesus Christ, Yehosus. There was no J. At the end, Titus and Yehos, I'm telling you, Babylon, the lion, the beast, attacked Judah, or Middle East or whatever, because after a time, remember Akhenaten reformed Canaan and all this other land. But then later down the line, people kept getting violent and crazy again, and the Egyptians kept having the right instructions and wisdom and stuff. So then you go later down the line, Babylon attacks and takes over. After Assyria takes over Isis-Rael, right? And then Babylon takes over Judah, and then looks what happens. All Isis-Rael and Judah, they're all corrupt. The kings that I was talking about, Samuel. So then Babylon attacked Judah, the lion on the beast, which led to the Talmud and the Gomorrah and all that. Then Persia, a bear that eats ribs, she bears from the forest, and they destroy other teachings and women. That's really symbolic, actually. They'll destroy the prophets, right? And take the ribs, the women, the prophets of the people. Came and created Zoroastrians, fire temples, and Phoenicians. Michael did, using Zoroaster Michael, and eventually leading to Islam after Muhammad. They took him and turned him into the Prince of Persia. I believe Zoroaster was a prophet, just like all these other men. I believe Zoroaster started bringing prophets together and started having them write poetry and stuff. All these prophets came after Babylon and woo-woo BC. So Zoroaster would have been first, Elijah. And then the prophets before that, coming from the Israeli kings, I believe he brought them together, their poetry. And then the four horsemen after that came after Elijah. Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, and Daniel. And you see they decked Daniel with scarlet and gold and took these other prophets and turned them into bloody words and attacked their own nations. Then when the daughter of the Pharisees, right? Because then, as I told you before, the man is like the spirit. So Herod would have been the spirit of the people. But then the flesh is like the woman. So I'm not saying men or women. It's like a spiritual teaching. So then the flesh would have been taking over at the time. Instead of the king, who is the spirit, the flesh would have been ruling over the people, telling them to murder, murder, murder. So then these Pharisees, who are wise, right, knowing that this man wouldn't bow, or Judah, would have been sending them to Roman kings and Caesars and Greek kings. Like, look, they won't bow. They won't bow. I thought you were the king. Just like, remember in Daniel, they set Daniel up like that. I thought you were the king. I thought you set a decree to kill anybody that don't bow to you. They're setting these people up. And when Yehohanan wouldn't bow, they killed him and crucified him. And then when the daughter of the Pharisees, the Roman Catholics, Peter and the Pope, and Paul and the Protestants, war back and forth, the 30 Years' War, go research the 30 Years' War, came forth, they crucified John the Baptist. So the Pharisees handed him over to the Romans, and then Yehohanan ben Hagios crucified John the Baptist, Yehohanan ben Hagios, and then beheaded his story and hung him in the field and created a Roman pagan god. And then, look, Paul persecuted the Jews. What did the Romans do to the people that wouldn't bow to Jesus Christ? They killed them and martyred them over and over and over and over. So I just wanted to give this little bit of information, and I just want to help out as many people as I can and open as many eyes as I can. These people are calling Egyptians evil and the devil and all this, but even in that book it says Egypt was the garden at first until a man slithered in and started creating laws for good and evil and bringing gods forth. And so I just wanted to kind of give you guys that little bit of information. Um, I am only one man. I told you all, if I'm giving you all information, give me information too. If I say I'm the Messiah, I am is for everybody. I'm saying basically I am freedom. So I'm not coming to be some religious king that goes, "Oh, I rule over you now and I'm the God of all of you." I am freedom, the covenant of life. And so once you guys are free, gather information and I can listen, and if I like it and it helps build and it's conceptualized for logic, then we can go from there. Something else I wanted to tell you guys about real quick before I go, because as I've told you guys, I'm not really a religious person. I don't despise religion. I think different people's cultures are cool, but what I try to tell people is I advocate for, and I want to show you guys before people start hollering out Khan in chats. Life is really weird. So it's called Khan Academy. And I told you all they got playlists. This is where you want to go to. They got different languages. And here they've got intermediary to pre-K almost, all the way to advanced physics and calculus and stuff. High school, grade school, 6th grade through 12. I learn and gather information, knowledge, science, psychology, philosophy, and I don't mix it with religion. I don't even like religion because it's cool and all, but until people mythologize religion, what's going to keep happening is they're going to keep creating Nephilim and gods and destroying themselves. And so that's why I'm trying to tell you all the name and bring the covenant and try to help you all before people keep sending you to Noah. And so, yeah, you know what I'm saying? After I went to high school and got college level education at community college and then took pre-nursing basically. And so I'm a CNA and I could get my LPN license practical nursing at any time. And I work in psych care. And so that's why a lot of times people don't understand why I'm so empathetic. And I'm telling you guys, I care about people. People look at me and just be like, "Oh, gangster rapper." That's not my personality. And I'm trying to help as many people as I can. So like I said, when I come saying I am who I am, I'm not coming saying I'm your God. I'm saying we all are, and I am is for us all. So have a good day.